I'm Elena Patterson, and I just signed the papers that ended 15 years of my life. The lawyer's office smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams. Kevin sat across from me, couldn't even look me in the eye. His affair with that 20-something intern from his firm had been going on for months. "This is really what you want?" I asked him one last time. "Elena, we've grown apart. You know that." Grown apart? What a damn joke. I'd been growing his garden, cooking his meals, supporting his career while mine withered. Now I was 42 and starting over. The apartment I found was tiny compared to our house in the suburbs. 1 bedroom, a kitchen the size of a closet, and a fire escape that looked out onto a brick wall. But it was mine. No Kevin's golf clubs in the hallway. No reminders of the life I thought I had. My new job at the community center wasn't glamorous, but working with people through garden therapy felt right. Watching Mrs. Chen's arthritic hands gently tend to seedlings, seeing teenage Marcus find peace among the tomato plants. This was real. This mattered. "You look terrible," my sister Emma said, barging into my apartment with takeout Chinese food. "When's the last time you left this place for something other than work?" "I'm fine, Em." "Bullshit. You're hiding." She wasn't wrong. I'd been living like a hermit, going from apartment to work and back again. The thought of dating, of putting myself out there, made my stomach turn. "There's this cycling group I heard about," Emma continued, unpacking lo mein. "They meet Saturday mornings. Fresh air, exercise, new people. I don't even own a bike." "You can rent one." "Come on, Elena. You used to be adventurous." "That was before Kevin crushed whatever adventurous spirit I had left." But Emma's eyes held that stubborn look I knew too well. She wouldn't let this go. Saturday morning found me standing outside a bike rental shop in Jersey City, feeling ridiculous in borrowed athletic clothes. The cycling group was gathering nearby, about a dozen people in colorful jerseys, their bikes looking expensive and intimidating. A blonde woman with the brightest blue eyes I'd ever seen approached me. She moved with confidence, like she owned the world. "You must be Elena. I'm Adriana, the group leader. Emma told me you might join us today." Her handshake was firm, warm. Something about her made me feel less awkward, less out of place. "I should warn you, I haven't been on a bike since college." "Perfect. We'll take the scenic route along the Hudson. No pressure, just enjoy the ride." The group took off, and within minutes I was struggling to keep up. My legs burned, my lungs ached, and I was seriously considering turning back when Adriana appeared beside me. "Mind if I keep you company?" she asked, not even breathing hard. "You don't have to babysit me." "I'm not. I'm enjoying the conversation." We talked as we rode, about my work with garden therapy, her rehabilitation center downtown. She listened like what I said actually mattered. When was the last time someone had done that? After the ride, she suggested coffee at a little place overlooking the water. We sat outside, our bikes leaning against the railing. "So, what's your story?" Adriana asked, stirring sugar into her espresso. "Recently divorced, starting over. The usual midlife crisis stuff." "That's not a story, that's a headline." "What's underneath?" Something in her voice made me want to tell the truth. About feeling invisible in my marriage. About discovering Kevin's betrayal. About wondering if I'd wasted the best years of my life. "I help people heal through gardening," I said finally. "But I can't seem to figure out how to heal myself." Adriana leaned forward. "Maybe you're trying to do it alone." The way she looked at me made something flutter in my chest, something I couldn't quite name. The following Saturday, I showed up at the cycling meetup again. Something about Adriana's words had stuck with me all week. Maybe I was trying to heal alone. Maybe that was the problem. She was adjusting her bike when I arrived, those blue eyes lighting up when she saw me. "You came back. I wasn't sure you would." Neither was I. This time, I'd rented a better bike and bought proper shorts. I looked less like a tourist and more like someone who belonged. The group was smaller today, maybe 8 people instead of 12. "We're doing the full Hudson River Trail," Adriana announced. "About 20 miles round trip. Everyone good with that?" My stomach dropped. 20 miles? Last week's 10 had nearly killed me. But I nodded along with everyone else, not wanting to be the weak link again. The pace started easy, but gradually picked up. Within the first few miles, I was falling behind. My thighs screamed, my breathing became ragged. The gap between me and the group widened. Then Adriana was beside me again, effortlessly matching my slower pace. You don't have to stay back, I panted. I want to. Tell me about your garden therapy work. How'd you get into that? As we rode, I found myself opening up about my passion for helping people heal through nature. How Mrs. Chen had started smiling again after weeks of tending herbs. How Marcus had stopped getting into fights once he had plants to care for. That's beautiful work, Adriana said. I see similar things at my rehab center. People need something to nurture, something that grows. What kind of rehabilitation? Addiction recovery mostly. We help people rebuild their lives after they've lost everything. Her voice carried a weight that made me glance over. There was a story there, something personal. Sounds challenging. It is. Especially when funding gets cut, and we have to turn people away. We'd reached the turnaround point at the pier. The rest of the group was already heading back, but Adriana suggested we take a break. We sat on a bench overlooking the water, our bikes propped nearby. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. What was your marriage really like? You mentioned feeling invisible. The question caught me off guard. Most people avoided asking about my divorce, treating it like a contagious disease. Kevin was ambitious, successful. I was the supportive wife who made sure his life ran smoothly. Somewhere along the way, I forgot I had my own dreams. What dreams? Opening my own therapeutic garden center, helping more people than I can reach at the community center. Sounds silly now. It doesn't sound silly at all. It sounds like exactly what the world needs. The way she said it, with such conviction, made my chest tight. When was the last time someone had believed in my dreams? What about you? I asked. Always wanted to run a rehab center? A shadow crossed her face. My brother died of an overdose 5 years ago. I couldn't save him, but maybe I can save others. The pain in her voice was raw, real. Without thinking, I reached over and squeezed her hand. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through me. I'm sorry. He would have liked you, she said softly. He always said the world needed more people who understood how to help things grow. Our hands were still touching. I should have pulled away, but I didn't want to. Her skin was warm, calloused from cycling and work, strong hands. Elena? Yeah? I'm glad you came back today. Something in her voice made me look up. She was closer than I'd realized, close enough that I could see flecks of silver in her blue eyes, close enough that when she leaned in, I didn't pull away. Her lips were soft, tentative at first, then more certain when I didn't resist. The kiss lasted only a few seconds, but it felt like the world had shifted on its axis. When we broke apart, I was breathless for reasons that had nothing to do with cycling. I started, then stopped. What was I supposed to say? That I'd never kissed a woman before? That it felt more right than anything had in years? We should head back, Adriana said quietly, but she was smiling. The ride back passed in a blur. I was hyper-aware of her presence beside me, of the way she'd occasionally glance over and smile. By the time we reached the starting point, my mind was spinning faster than my bike wheels. Same time next week? She asked as we returned our bikes. I'll be here. She leaned over and kissed my cheek, casual as anything. But there was nothing casual about the way it made me feel. Good. I'd miss our conversations. As I walked home, I touched my lips where she'd kissed me. Something was happening, something I didn't understand but couldn't deny. For the first time since my divorce, I felt alive. That kiss haunted me all week. I'd catch myself touching my lips at random moments, remembering the softness of hers. What the hell was happening to me? I'd been married to a man for 15 years, never once questioned my sexuality. Now one kiss from Adriana had turned my world upside down. Saturday couldn't come fast enough, and yet I dreaded it. What would I say to her? How do you act normal after something like that? She was waiting by the bike rental shop, adjusting her helmet. When she saw me, her face broke into that radiant smile that made my stomach flip. Ready for another adventure? As ready as I'll ever be. The group was even smaller today, just 6 of us. We headed toward the waterfront, taking a different route through Liberty State Park. Adriana rode beside me from the start this time, no pretense of leading the group. How was your week? She asked. Busy. Yours? Challenging. We had another funding meeting. Didn't go well. I could hear the stress in her voice. Want to talk about it? The city's cutting our budget by 30%. I might have to lay off 2 counselors. That's terrible. These people need help now more than ever. Exactly. But bureaucrats don't see it that way. We'd fallen behind the others, riding at our own pace through tree-lined paths. The morning was perfect, cool and bright, with the kind of light that made everything look possible. I've been thinking about what you said, Adriana continued, about your therapeutic garden center idea. Yeah? What if we combined our approaches? Garden therapy for addiction recovery. There's research showing how nature helps with healing trauma. The idea sparked something in me. That could actually work. Plants don't judge, they just respond to care. Like people, when you think about it. We stopped at a secluded spot overlooking the harbor. The Statue of Liberty stood in the distance, a symbol of new beginnings. How fitting. Elena, can I ask you something personal? My heart rate picked up. Sure. Have you ever been with a woman before? The directness of the question caught me off guard. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. No, never even thought about it until you kissed me. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Something light and citrusy. How did it make you feel? Confused, scared, but also, I struggled for the right word. Alive. More alive than I've felt in years. Good scared or bad scared? I don't know. Both? She reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The simple gesture sent shivers down my spine. We don't have to figure everything out today. What if I don't know who I am anymore? Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe you're just discovering who you've always been. Before I could overthink it, I leaned in and kissed her. This time, I was the one initiating. Her lips parted in surprise, then responded with a warmth that made my knees weak. When we broke apart, she was smiling. That felt pretty natural for someone who's never done it before. Did it? Definitely. We sat on a bench, our bikes forgotten. The conversation flowed easily, moving from work to dreams to the strange turns life takes. She told me about her college years, her brief engagement to a man who couldn't understand her career ambitions. I shared stories about my marriage, how I'd slowly disappeared into Kevin's shadow. You're not invisible now, she said softly. Sometimes I feel like I'm seeing myself clearly for the first time. What do you see? Someone braver than I thought. Someone who might actually deserve to be happy. The sun was getting higher, and we knew we should rejoin the group, but neither of us moved. Adriana? Yeah? I'm scared of what this means. What do you think it means? That everything I thought I knew about myself might be wrong. Or maybe everything you thought you had to be was wrong. She stood and extended her hand. Come on. Let's catch up with the others. As we rode back, I felt different. Lighter somehow, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even know was there. The other cyclists welcomed us back without question, but I caught one woman giving us a knowing look. Did it show? This thing growing between us? After the ride, Adriana walked me to my car. Same time next week? I wouldn't miss it. She hesitated, then leaned in and kissed me again, quick and sweet. Elena? Yeah? Don't overthink this. Just let it be what it is. Driving home, I caught myself smiling in the rearview mirror. For the first time in months, I was looking forward to something. Not just next Saturday, but whatever came after that. Maybe Adriana was right. Maybe I wasn't losing myself. Maybe I was finally finding who I'd always been, buried under years of trying to be someone else's idea of perfect. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home. Adriana suggested a weekend cycling trip to the Catskills. Just the two of us. The invitation hung in the air between us like a challenge, loaded with possibilities I wasn't sure I was ready for. It's beautiful up there this time of year, she said, her blue eyes searching my face. We could camp overnight, really explore the trails. My practical side screamed warnings. Alone with her for an entire weekend? After those kisses that had already turned my world sideways? But something deeper, something I'd been ignoring for too long, whispered yes. I've never been camping. I'll bring everything we need. Just bring yourself. The drive up took 2 hours, our bikes strapped to the back of her SUV. We talked easily about work, about the collaborative program we'd been developing. But underneath the casual conversation, tension hummed like a live wire. You're quiet, she observed as we wound through mountain roads. Just thinking. About? About how I never expected my life to take this turn. She reached over and squeezed my hand briefly. The best things usually come when we're not expecting them. The campground was tucked into a valley surrounded by rolling hills painted in early summer green. Adriana had reserved a secluded spot near a stream, far from other campers. Privacy, I realized, with a mix of excitement and nerves. One tent? I asked, watching her unpack. 2 sleeping bags, though. I'm not presuming anything. But the way she said it, with that slight smile, suggested she might be hoping for something. We spent the afternoon exploring trails that wound through dense forest and opened onto breathtaking vistas. Adriana was a natural guide, pointing out wildflowers and bird calls, making me see the landscape through her eyes. You love this, I said, as we stopped at an overlook. Nature doesn't lie to you. It just is what it is. Unlike people? Unlike the masks people wear. She turned to face me, and something in her expression made my breath catch. What mask are you wearing, Elena? I don't know anymore. Maybe I've worn it so long I forgot what's underneath. I think I'm seeing what's underneath. The sun was setting by the time we returned to camp. Adriana built a fire while I attempted to help with dinner, though my camping skills were clearly lacking. You're trying too hard, she laughed, rescuing the vegetables I was burning. Story of my life. Not anymore. As darkness fell, we sat by the fire, sharing a bottle of wine she'd brought. The flames cast dancing shadows across her face, highlighting the strong line of her jaw, the curve of her lips. Tell me about your brother, I said softly. Her expression grew distant. Danny was 3 years younger, brilliant kid but sensitive. The world was too harsh for him. When did you know he was in trouble? I should have seen it sooner. The signs were there, but I was so focused on my own life, my career. You can't blame yourself. Can't I? I was the big sister. I was supposed to protect him. I moved closer on the log we were sharing. You're protecting people now, helping them heal. It doesn't bring him back. No, but it honors his memory. She looked at me then, really looked, and I saw tears glistening in her eyes. How did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just learning that pain can teach us things if we let it. The space between us seemed to shrink. I could feel the warmth radiating from her body, could hear the slight catch in her breathing. Elena? Yeah? I want to kiss you again. I want you to. This time, when our lips met, there was nothing tentative about it. The kiss was deep, searching, full of all the things we hadn't said. Her hands tangled in my hair, and I pulled her closer, desperate to eliminate any distance between us. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. We should probably get some sleep, she whispered, but made no move to pull away. Probably. Neither of us moved. The fire crackled beside us, the only sound in the vast darkness of the mountains. I've never felt like this before, I admitted. Like what? Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She stood and extended her hand. Come on. Inside the tent we lay in our separate sleeping bags, but the small space made us acutely aware of each other. Every rustle of fabric, every shift in position seemed amplified. Adriana? I'm scared. Of what? Of how much I want this. Want you. I heard her sleeping bag unzip, felt her move closer in the darkness. Then stop being scared. Her lips found mine in the dark, and this time I didn't pull away. I let myself fall into the kiss, into the feeling of her hands on my skin, into the realization that this was what I'd been missing all my life. But as her touch grew more intimate, panic suddenly flooded through me. This was too much, too fast, too different from everything I thought I knew about myself. I can't, I gasped, pulling away. I'm sorry, I can't. Elena, it's okay. No, it's not. I'm a mess. I don't know what I'm doing. I was already reaching for my clothes, my heart pounding with something that felt like terror. Please don't go. I need to think. I need space. We can just sleep. Nothing has to happen. But I was already crawling out of the tent, grabbing my keys from where I'd left them by the fire. Elena, please. I'm sorry, I called back, practically running to the car. I drove home through the dark mountains, tears streaming down my face, hating myself for running but unable to stop. What kind of person kisses someone like that and then flees? What kind of coward was I? For 3 days, I ignored Adriana's calls. Her voicemails grew increasingly worried, then hurt, then finally stopped coming altogether. I threw myself into work, spending extra hours at the community center, but even Mrs. Chen noticed something was wrong. "You look like wilted lettuce," she said, pruning tomatoes with surgical precision. "Thanks for the pep talk. What happened to that glow you had? The one that made you look 10 years younger?" I couldn't explain that the glow had come from kissing a woman, from feeling more alive than I had in decades, only to run away like a scared teenager. How do you tell an 80-year-old grandmother that you might be gay at 42? Emma showed up at my apartment Thursday night with pizza and wine. "Spill it," she said, settling onto my couch. "You look terrible." "I kissed someone." "That's great. Who is he?" "She." Emma's eyes widened, but to her credit, she didn't drop her wine glass. "Okay. Tell me everything." So I did. About Adriana, about the cycling group, about running away in the mountains like a complete coward. "You idiot," Emma said when I finished. "Thanks for the support." "No, seriously. You finally find someone who makes you happy and you run? After 15 years with Kevin the cheater? It's complicated. It's only complicated because you're making it complicated." Before I could argue, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Elena Patterson? This is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. We're doing a segment on second chances after divorce, and your name came up. Would you be interested in participating?" I almost hung up, but something about the timing felt like fate intervening. What would it involve? "Just a brief interview about starting over. We're filming tomorrow if you're available." Emma was making frantic gestures, mouthing "say yes." "Okay. I'll do it." The next morning, I found myself in a television studio, makeup caked on my face, sitting across from a perky blonde reporter. The lights were blindingly bright, and I could barely see the cameras. "So Elena, tell us about your journey after divorce. How are you rebuilding your life?" I talked about the garden therapy work, about finding new purpose. The questions were easy, softball stuff about resilience and growth. "And what about romance? Are you dating again?" My mind went blank. I could feel sweat beading under the studio lights. Well, I've met someone." "That's wonderful. Tell us about him." The word "him" hung in the air like a challenge. I thought about Adriana's blue eyes, about the way she made me feel seen and valued, about how I'd hurt her by running away. "Actually, it's a woman." The reporter's smile faltered for just a second. "Oh. That's great. How did you meet?" "Through a cycling group. She's amazing. She runs a rehabilitation center, helps people rebuild their lives after addiction." I was rambling now, but I couldn't stop. She's strong and compassionate, and she makes me want to be braver than I am. "And this is a new experience for you? Dating women?" "Completely new. I was married to a man for 15 years. I never questioned my sexuality until I met Adriana." The reporter leaned forward, sensing a story. "What's that been like, discovering this about yourself at this stage of life?" "Terrifying, liberating. Like waking up from a dream I didn't know I was having." When the interview ended, I felt simultaneously relieved and horrified. Had I really just come out on television, to strangers? The segment aired that evening. I watched it alone in my apartment, cringing at how nervous I looked, how my voice shook when I talked about Adriana. My phone started ringing immediately. Emma, supportive as always. My mother, confused and concerned. Kevin, angry and accusatory. "This is some kind of publicity stunt, right?" he demanded. "You're not actually gay." "I don't know what I am, Kevin. But I know I'm happier than I've been in years." "This is embarrassing. People are going to think our whole marriage was a lie." Maybe it was. The next morning brought a flood of emails and social media messages. Most were supportive, from strangers sharing their own coming-out stories, but some were cruel, questioning my motives, my sanity, my morality. I was reading through them when there was a knock at my door. My heart jumped, hoping it might be Adriana, but it was a reporter from a tabloid magazine. "Elena Patterson? We'd like to ask you some questions about your sudden lifestyle change." I slammed the door in his face, but others followed throughout the day. My phone rang constantly with interview requests and invasive questions. By evening, I was hiding in my apartment with the curtains drawn when another knock came. This time, I looked through the peephole first. Adriana stood in the hallway, holding a bottle of wine and looking uncertain. I opened the door, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. "I saw the interview," she said quietly. "I'm sorry I ran away. I'm sorry I've been avoiding your calls. You came out on national television." "I guess I did." "Why?" "Because when she asked about dating, the only person I could think about was you, because I was tired of being afraid." She stepped closer. "Are you still afraid?" "Terrified. But I'm more afraid of losing you." "You haven't lost me." She reached up and cupped my face in her hands. "But we need to talk. Really talk." "I know. Can I come in?" I stepped aside, and she entered my small apartment. The space felt different with her in it, more alive somehow. "Elena?" "Yeah? I'm proud of you." That took courage. Did it? Or was it just stupidity? Sometimes they're the same thing. She pulled me into her arms, and this time I didn't run. This time I let myself fall into the kiss, into the feeling of coming home. We talked until dawn, sitting on my couch with the wine bottle between us. Adriana listened as I explained my panic, my confusion, my fear of losing myself in something I didn't understand. "I've never been with a woman," I said for the third time. "I don't know what I'm doing." "Neither did I, the first time." "You've been with men too?" "In college. It never felt right, but I thought that was normal. Took me years to figure out why." Her honesty made me feel less alone, less like a freak discovering attraction at 42. "What changed your mind? About us, I mean. Watching you on TV. Seeing you choose honesty over hiding. That took guts." The morning light filtering through my windows made everything feel possible. When she kissed me this time, I didn't pull away. Instead, I let myself sink into the feeling, into the warmth of her lips, the gentle pressure of her hands. "Elena? Can we take this slow? No pressure, no expectations." "I'd like that." But slow became impossible when she stayed for breakfast, when I watched her move around my kitchen like she belonged there, when she laughed at my terrible coffee and made better eggs than I'd ever managed. "You're staring?" she said, not looking up from the stove. "Am I? Like you're trying to memorize me." "Maybe I am." She turned then, spatula in hand, and the look in her eyes made my breath catch. "Elena?" "Yeah? I want to touch you." The simple statement sent heat flooding through me. I nodded, not trusting my voice. She moved closer, her hands finding the hem of my shirt. "Is this okay?" "Yes." Her touch was gentle, reverent, as she explored the curve of my waist, the line of my collarbone. When her lips followed the path her hands had traced, I thought I might dissolve entirely. We moved to my bedroom without speaking, shedding clothes and inhibitions with equal care. The morning light painted her skin golden, and I marveled at how beautiful she was, how right this felt despite being completely foreign. "You're shaking," she whispered. "Good shaking or bad shaking?" "You tell me." I pulled her down to me, answering with my lips instead of words. Her body against mine felt like coming home to a place I'd never been but had always belonged. When she touched me, really touched me, I understood for the first time what all the songs and poems were about. This wasn't just physical pleasure, though that was overwhelming enough. This was connection, recognition, the feeling of being truly seen and desired. Afterward, we lay tangled in my sheets, her head on my chest, both of us breathing hard. That was... yeah. I never knew it could feel like that. Like what? Like I was exactly where I belonged. She lifted her head to look at me. "Any regrets?" "Only that it took me 42 years to figure this out." The peaceful morning was interrupted by my phone buzzing with notifications. The interview had gone viral, apparently. My email was flooded with messages, some supportive, others less so. "My mother wants to have lunch," I said, scrolling through texts. "She's concerned about my mental state." "Are you going?" "I should." "She's trying to understand, in her way." "What about your ex?" "Kevin's been calling non-stop. Apparently my lifestyle choice is embarrassing him at work." Adriana's jaw tightened. "It's not a choice." "I know that. You know that. But try explaining that to someone who thinks sexuality is like picking a flavor of ice cream. The lunch with my mother was exactly as awkward as expected. She kept asking if I was sure about this, and suggesting I might just be confused after the divorce. Mom, I'm happy. Isn't that what matters? But, Elena, what will people think? I don't care what people think anymore. That was mostly true, though the cruel comments online still stung. Someone had found my work address and sent a letter calling me an abomination. Another suggested I was just seeking attention. But for every hateful message, there were 3 supportive ones. Women sharing their own stories of late-in-life discovery. Men applauding my honesty. Teenagers thanking me for showing them it was never too late to be authentic. Kevin cornered me at the community center the next week. This is ridiculous, Elena. You're not gay. How would you know? You barely paid attention to me for the last 5 years of our marriage. I'm going to contest the divorce settlement. Claim mental instability. Go ahead. But you might want to explain to your lawyer why your affair with a 25-year-old is somehow more stable than my relationship with a successful professional. He left muttering threats, but I wasn't worried. For the first time in years, I felt like I could handle whatever came my way. That evening, Adriana came over with takeout Chinese food and a bottle of wine. How was your day? She asked, settling beside me on the couch. Complicated. Yours? The same. The center's board met today. They're not thrilled about the publicity. Because of me? Because of us. Apparently, having a lesbian director is controversial. I'm sorry. I never meant for my coming out to affect your work. Hey, she turned to face me fully. I'm not ashamed of us, are you? No. Scared sometimes, but not ashamed. Good. Because I have something to tell you. What? I love you. The words hung in the air between us, simple and complicated at the same time. I love you too, I said, and meant it completely. She kissed me then, soft and sweet, and I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we'd face them together. The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was tending the community garden. Adriana's voice was tight with stress. The center's losing its primary funding. 60% of our budget gone. I dropped my watering can. What? How? City Council voted last night. Budget cuts across all social services. We have 3 months to find replacement funding or we close. There has to be something we can do. I've been offered a position in Philadelphia. Department head at a major hospital's addiction program. Full benefits, twice the salary. My heart stopped. Are you considering it? I have to. Elena, I can't let my staff lose their jobs because I'm too stubborn to admit defeat. That evening she came over looking exhausted. We sat on my couch, her head in my hands, both of us trying to process what this meant. How long would you be gone? It's not temporary. It's a career move. So this is it? We finally figure out what we have and now you're leaving? I don't want to leave, but I have responsibilities. I understood responsibility. I'd spent 15 years being responsible, putting everyone else's needs first. But this felt different. This felt like giving up just when we'd found something worth fighting for. What if we could save the center? Elena, I've tried everything. Grant applications, private donors, fundraising events. Nothing's worked. What about combining our programs? Garden therapy for addiction recovery. We could apply for different grants, target wellness, and alternative therapy funding. She looked up at me, hope flickering in her tired eyes. That's actually not a bad idea. I've been researching it since we first talked about collaboration. There's solid evidence that nature-based therapy helps with addiction recovery, but we'd need startup capital, space, staff. So we raise it. A big fundraising event. Something that gets attention. Like what? A cycling event. A charity ride that showcases both our programs. Get the community involved, local businesses, media coverage. For the first time in days, Adriana smiled. You know what? That might actually work. We spent the next 2 weeks planning frantically. The Ride for Recovery would be a 50-mile cycling event through Jersey City and surrounding areas, with stops at therapeutic gardens and recovery centers. Participants would pay entry fees, local businesses would sponsor riders, and we'd have a festival afterward with food, music, and information booths. This is insane, Emma said, helping us stuff envelopes with promotional materials. You're trying to organize a major event in 6 weeks. We don't have a choice, I replied. It's this, or Adriana moves to Philadelphia. And you'd go with her? The question caught me off guard. We hadn't discussed it, but the assumption was there. Couples move together, didn't they? I don't know. My life is here. My work, my family. Your heart's with her, though. That night, Adriana and I worked late at her office, designing promotional materials and coordinating with potential sponsors. The rehabilitation center felt different after hours, quieter but somehow more intimate. Elena? Yeah? If this doesn't work, if I have to take the Philadelphia job, let's not think about that yet. But if I do, would you consider coming with me? I looked up from the laptop where I'd been typing sponsor thank you letters. You're asking me to uproot my entire life. I'm asking if what we have is worth it. Of course it's worth it, but it's not that simple. Isn't it? She moved closer, her hand covering mine on the desk. I love you. I want to build a life with you, whether that's here or Philadelphia or anywhere else. I love you too. But I just found myself, found my purpose. I can't give that up. I'm not asking you to give it up. I'm asking you to expand it. Before I could respond, she kissed me. Soft at first, then with growing urgency. The stress of the past weeks, the uncertainty about our future, all of it poured into that kiss. We shouldn't, I whispered against her lips. Not here. Why not? It's after hours. We're alone. Her hands were already moving under my shirt, and I was losing the ability to think rationally. When she lifted me onto the desk, scattering papers everywhere, I stopped protesting. Making love in her office felt dangerous, exciting, completely unlike the careful, quiet woman I'd been for so long. When she touched me, I forgot about fundraising goals and budget meetings and the possibility of her leaving. There was only this moment, this connection, this overwhelming need for each other. Afterward, we lay on the small couch in her office, our clothes hastily rearranged, both of us breathing hard. That was unprofessional? Perfect. She laughed, the sound echoing in the empty building. I can't believe we just did that. Having regrets? Only that we waited so long. The fundraising event was still 3 weeks away, but we'd already exceeded our registration goals. Local news stations were covering the story, and several major sponsors had signed on. For the first time since the funding crisis began, I felt hopeful. Kevin called today. I told Adriana over dinner at my apartment. What did he want? To tell me I'm making a fool of myself. That this whole thing is just a phase I'm going through. What did you tell him? That the only fool I'd been was staying married to him for 15 years. She raised her wine glass. I'll drink to that. He also said he's contesting the divorce settlement, claims I was mentally unstable during the proceedings. Can he do that? His lawyer seems to think so. Apparently, my sudden lifestyle change raises questions about my mental state when I signed the papers. That's ridiculous. Maybe. But it means more legal fees, more stress, more of Kevin trying to control my life even after our marriage is over. Adriana reached across the table and took my hand. We'll get through this. All of it. Promise? Promise. But even as she said it, I could see the worry in her eyes. The Philadelphia job offer had a deadline, and it was approaching fast. The ride for recovery exceeded every expectation. Over 300 cyclists showed up on a crisp Saturday morning, their colorful jerseys creating a rainbow of support along the waterfront. Local news crews captured the energy as riders gathered at the starting line, and I felt a surge of pride watching Adriana address the crowd. Today isn't just about cycling, she said into the microphone. It's about proving that healing comes in many forms, that community support can overcome any obstacle. The route took us through Jersey City's most scenic areas, with stops at therapeutic gardens where participants could see our programs in action. Mrs. Chen had volunteered to demonstrate herb gardening techniques, and I watched seasoned cyclists kneel in the dirt, fascinated by her gentle wisdom. This is incredible, Adriana said, riding beside me as we approached the final checkpoint. Look at all these people who believe in what we're doing. The festival afterward was even better than I'd hoped. Local restaurants donated food, a jazz band played on the makeshift stage, and information booths drew steady crowds. But the real magic happened when recovering addicts shared their stories, explaining how nature therapy had helped their healing process. "We did it," I whispered to Adriana as we watched the crowd. "We're close. The preliminary numbers look good, but we won't know the final total until next week." Monday brought the news we'd been hoping for. Between registration fees, sponsorships, and donations, we'd raised enough to keep the center operating for another year. More importantly, 3 major foundations had expressed interest in funding our combined garden therapy program. "I can't believe it worked," Adriana said, spinning me around in her office. "Believe it. We make a good team. The best." She kissed me then, and I tasted victory and relief and something that felt like forever. The success brought new challenges, though. A publisher contacted me about writing a book on finding love after divorce, specifically focusing on my journey of self-discovery. The advance they offered was substantial, enough to quit my community center job and focus on developing our therapeutic programs full-time. "You should do it," Adriana said when I told her about the offer. "It means being public about everything. Our relationship, my coming out, all of it. Are you ashamed of our story? No. But once it's in a book, it becomes permanent. Public record. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe other women need to hear that it's never too late to discover who you really are." The book contract came with interview requests and speaking opportunities. Suddenly, I was being asked to represent something bigger than just my own experience. Women wrote to me about their own late-in-life revelations, about marriages that felt like prisons, about the courage it took to start over. But success also brought scrutiny. Kevin's lawyer used my media appearances to support his claim that I'd been mentally unstable during our divorce proceedings. "They're saying you were having a breakdown," my lawyer explained during a tense meeting. "That your sudden sexuality change proves you weren't competent to make legal decisions." That's insane. Maybe, but it's creating complications. Kevin wants to revisit the property settlement. The legal battle dragged on for months, with depositions and psychological evaluations and endless paperwork. Kevin seemed determined to punish me for moving on, for finding happiness he couldn't control. "This is my fault," I told Adriana one evening after a particularly brutal day in court. "If I hadn't been so public about us, he couldn't use it against me. Don't you dare blame yourself. Kevin's just a bitter man who can't stand seeing you happy. But it's affecting you too. The center's board is getting nervous about all the publicity. The board can kiss my ass. We're doing important work, and I'm not hiding who I am to make them comfortable." Her fierce loyalty made me love her even more, but I worried about the cost. She'd already turned down the Philadelphia job to stay with me. I couldn't let my legal troubles destroy her career too. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. One of Kevin's former colleagues contacted my lawyer with information about financial irregularities at his firm. Apparently, Kevin had been embezzling client funds to support his affair, and the firm was quietly investigating. "He's in no position to question anyone's mental stability," my lawyer said with satisfaction. "I think we can make this go away quickly." The settlement was finalized within weeks. Kevin dropped his challenges to our divorce in exchange for my silence about his professional misconduct. It felt anticlimactic after months of stress, but I was grateful to finally close that chapter. "It's over," I told Adriana, waving the signed papers. "How does it feel?" "Like I can breathe again." That night, we celebrated at a small Italian restaurant near her apartment. The wine was good, the conversation easy, and for the first time in months, I felt completely relaxed. "I have something to tell you," Adriana said as we shared tiramisu. "Good something or bad something?" "Good, I think." The foundation approved our grant application, full funding for the integrated garden therapy program. "That's incredible. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because it comes with conditions. They want us to expand, open satellite locations. It's a 3-year commitment." "That's wonderful news. It also means I'll be staying in Jersey City permanently. No more job offers in other cities." The implication hung between us. She was choosing to stay, choosing us, choosing the life we were building together. "Are you sure?" "It's a big decision. I've never been more sure of anything." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I love you." "I love you too." Later at her apartment, we made love with a tenderness that felt like a promise. Every touch was a commitment, every kiss a declaration that we were in this together, whatever came next. "Elena? Move in with me." I lifted my head from her chest. Are you serious? Completely. We spend every night together anyway. And my place has better light for your writing. Is that your selling point? Better lighting? That and the woman who loves you desperately. Well, when you put it like that, I kissed her, tasting the future on her lips, and knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we'd face them together. Moving in together felt like the most natural thing in the world. Adriana's apartment became our apartment, filled with my books and her cycling gear, my plants and her recovery center awards. We created a space that reflected both of us, a home that felt authentic in ways I'd never experienced. You're humming, Adriana observed one morning, watching me make coffee in our kitchen. Am I? You've been doing it for weeks. I like it. I hadn't realized, but she was right. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I felt genuinely happy. Not the careful contentment I'd cultivated in my marriage, but real joy that bubbled up without effort. The book was progressing well. Blooming Late, A Journey to Authentic Love would be published in the spring, and early reviews were encouraging. More importantly, the advance had allowed me to leave the community center and focus full-time on developing our therapeutic programs. Our first satellite garden opened in Newark, a collaboration between Adriana's rehabilitation network and my therapeutic horticulture methods. Watching former addicts tend seedlings with the same care they were learning to give themselves felt like witnessing miracles daily. Look at Marcus, I told Adriana, pointing to the young man who'd been with us since the pilot program. 6 months ago, he couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. Now he's teaching new participants about soil composition. That's the power of giving people something to nurture, something to believe in. The cycling group had evolved too, becoming a support network that extended far beyond Saturday morning rides. Several members had started their own recovery journeys, inspired by the connections between physical activity and mental health we demonstrated. You two started something special, Emma said, joining us for one of our regular group rides. Half these people have transformed their lives. They did the work, Adriana replied. We just provided the framework. But I knew better. What we'd provided was hope, community, and the radical idea that healing could happen at any age, in any form. The legal battles with Kevin were finally behind us, settled with an agreement that left us both free to move forward. He'd quietly left his law firm amid the embezzlement investigation, relocating to another state where his reputation remained intact. I felt no satisfaction in his downfall, only relief that he could no longer interfere with my happiness. Any regrets? Adriana asked one evening as we sat on our balcony, watching the sunset paint Jersey City in shades of gold. About Kevin? About the divorce? About any of it? The whole journey that brought you here? I considered the question seriously. The pain of discovering Kevin's affair, the confusion of realizing my attraction to women, the terror of coming out publicly, the stress of legal battles and career changes. No regrets. Even the hard parts led me to you. Even running away from me in the mountains? Especially that. It taught me that some things are worth being scared for. She laughed, the sound mixing with the evening breeze. I love your twisted logic. I love you, period. The commitment ceremony was Adriana's idea, though I embraced it completely. We couldn't legally marry in our state yet, but we could make promises, exchange rings, celebrate our love with the people who mattered most. Nothing fancy, I insisted. Just our friends, simple vows, good food. And cycling jerseys instead of formal wear? Don't push it. We held the ceremony in the community garden where we'd first collaborated, surrounded by the plants and people who'd witnessed our love grow. Emma stood as my witness, tears streaming down her face as I promised to love Adriana through whatever changes life might bring. I never expected to find love at 42, I said, looking into Adriana's blue eyes. I certainly never expected to find it with a woman who challenges me to be braver, kinder, more authentic than I knew I could be. Adriana's vows were simpler but no less powerful. Elena, you taught me that it's never too late to bloom, that healing comes in unexpected forms, that love is worth every risk. The rings were simple silver bands, engraved with coordinates marking the spot where we'd first kissed by the Hudson River. As we slipped them onto each other's fingers, I felt the weight of commitment, of choosing each other every day going forward. Mrs. Chen had insisted on catering, filling tables with homemade dishes that reflected the diversity of our community garden family. The cycling group formed an honor guard as we walked back down the aisle, and even some of Adriana's recovery center clients had come to celebrate. "So, what's next?" Emma asked during the reception, raising her champagne glass. "More of the same," I replied. "Growing things, helping people heal, building a life together." Sounds perfect. It was perfect, in its imperfect, complicated, beautifully human way. As Adriana and I danced to jazz music under string lights hung between tomato plants, I marveled at the journey that had brought us here. A year ago, I'd been signing divorce papers, convinced my life was effectively over. Now I was dancing with the woman I loved, surrounded by a community we'd helped create, embarking on work that felt like my true calling. "What are you thinking about?" Adriana whispered in my ear. "How grateful I am for second chances. Third chances, fourth chances, however many it takes." "However many it takes," I agreed, pulling her closer. The evening ended with our cycling group leading a torch-lit ride through the city, a celebration of love and community that felt like the perfect beginning to whatever came next. As we pedaled through streets I'd learned to call home, Adriana beside me and friends surrounding us, I understood finally what it meant to be exactly where I belonged. Some stories end with dramatic gestures or grand revelations. Ours ended with the quiet certainty of choosing each other, every day, in all the small and large ways that make a life together. It was better than any fairy tale I'd ever imagined.